Hey guys, it's me, Miss Mills, and welcome to Mrs. Mills' Math Time. The whole point of this video is to help y'all out with how to write equations from a table or from a graph. Now, y'all are probably thinking, I know how to do that. We've been doing that for months. We have a table, we find the slope and the y-intercept, and we put it into y equals mx plus b. Same thing with the graph. We find the rise over run, which is our slope. We find the y-intercept, which is where the line crosses the y-axis, and then we put it into the equation, y equals mx plus b. We know how to do this. Well, I know y'all do. This is review, but today we're going to talk about word problems in particular, and I'm going to help you out with some keywords you need to look for when it comes to word problems and how to write equations based off of word problems. So let's go ahead and get started. So here are the notes real quick, and I want y'all to know that these notes are interactive. That means I'm not giving you the answers to our examples. You'll have to watch this video and follow along, and then you can type in the answers yourself. All right, let's do this then. This is where the video is going to be. I decided I'm going to start putting them in the second slide. That way you can watch the video while you're going down, the notes. That way you can hear me while we're talking about it. Okay, so it's just going to go here. Not a big deal. All right, so let's talk about writing equations from tables and graphs. So again, what we need to remember is slope-intercept form. What slope-intercept form is it's the equation. Y equals mx plus b. M is our slope. So when we find the slope, we substitute it where m is. And b is our y-intercept. When we find the y-intercept, we substitute it where b is. So y'all have seen this, so we're good on that. But let's talk about slope-intercept form again. Again, it tells you, the slope's m, the y-intercept is b, and then it tells you this thing. Once you have those two values, once you have the slope and the y-intercept, you can put them into the equation, which is called slope-intercept form. And then it says, in other words, you need to be able to find keywords that go along with slope and the y-intercept in word problems. That way you know to put them into the equation. So slide number 4 gives you some keywords you can look for when you're reading these word problems. Your IXL is going to be big on this, so I would recommend having this out when you do your IXL that goes along with this week. But for your Y, your Y value is always your output. It's your range, dependent variable, total charge, actually. So let me fix this. Total charge, total value, total cost, total amount, revenue. Just when you see the Y value, that's just how much you're either going to owe. It's the total at the end of the day, how much at the end. Again, M is your slope. Another word for slope is rate of change. X is your domain. It's your input. If you have an X value and you want to plug it in to find the Y value, that's where you put it. It's your independent variable. That means that as it changes, your dependent variable, which is Y, will change. So your independent variable cannot be changed by the dependent variable, but the dependent variable can be changed by your independent variable. What that basically means is what number you put in for X is always going to change your Y value. X can always also be time, weeks, months, days, years, fun stuff like that. And it also can be the distance, which could be miles, feet, inches, whatever. And then your plus B, again, guys, that is your y-intercept. If you're reading word problems, that's going to be known as your starting point or your minimum fee, one-time fee, registration fee, installation fee, a flat fee, or initial fee. So basically what it is let's say a couple of weeks ago we did word problems comparing things, and Zanaya and Maggie were saving up to buy AirPods. Well, we figured out that Maggie was saving $50 a week, whereas Zanaya was only saving $48 a week. So Maggie was saving more. She had a higher slope, but if y'all remember, Zanaya had $115 already in her bank account when they started. So at the end of the first couple of weeks, Zanaya had a lot more money than Maggie did, and it's because she had that flat fee. She had that base already in there. It was her starting amount, which was $115. So if you're looking at a word problem, how much is already there, the original amount, is always going to be your y-intercept value. All right, so guys, this slide right here is just going to be review on how to find the slope and the y-intercept of tables. How you find the slope of a table is you pick 2 points on the table. and you label them x1, y1, x2, and y2, and then you put them in the slope formula and solve. Again, that is review. If you need help with that, there's a lot of videos from before Christmas break that you can watch that I go into more detail of this. But yeah, you put them in the slope formula, you subtract the numerator and the denominator, and you'll get slope every single time. So finding the y-intercept of a table, what you need to look for is you need to find what the y value is when the x value is 0. So for example, here's our x value, it's 0. When x is 0, y is 3. Therefore, 3 is going to be our y-intercept. So we find the slope, we find the y-intercept, and then we can put it into y equals mx plus b, where m is where we would put our slope, and b would be where we found our y-intercept. And then graphs. So to find the slope of a graph, there's two different ways you can do that. One way is picking 2 points and finding the rise over run. How much you rise is your numerator, how much you run is your denominator. Or you can do something very similar to what you would do if you had a table. You can pick 2 points, label them, put them in the slope formula, and solve for the slope. So that's up to you, whatever you're more comfortable with, but whatever you're comfortable with, it's totally fine. But yeah, finding the slope, you can do it those 2 ways and do whatever you're happiest with. And then last but certainly not least, to find the y-intercept of a graph, you have to find where the line crosses the y-axis. So if y'all remember, I'm going to open this back up real quick. Hopefully it's still up. Yeah. So if y'all remember, when you have a graph, the horizontal line is always your x-axis. The vertical line is always your y-axis. So let's say you had a line. The y-intercept is where the line literally intercepts, where it crosses the y-axis. So in this particular line right here, it crosses the y-axis at here, making whatever value is there, I would say something around -1, is our y-intercept, okay? Because it's where y is when x equals 0. Okay, so guys, we did that review, and now we can use what we learned and use it in word problems. And guys, word problems aren't that scary, okay? Y'all got this. It's going to be fine. All right, so here's my first example. Emily's family went to the movies, and they bought a large popcorn. So they are debating whether or not to purchase any drinks. The table below shows how much they'll spend based on the number of drinks they decide to purchase. So Emily's family is trying to save money. They already know they're getting the popcorn, but how many drinks they get depends on how much money they want to spend. So here's a table that represents how much money they would spend per drink they would order. So for example, we already figured out that the large popcorn is $6.25 because they already purchased the large popcorn. They haven't purchased any drinks yet. So here are the number of drinks. So when x equals 0, y is $6.25. Therefore, we know the large popcorn is $6.25 to begin with. So using that information, that is our base value. That's how much they already spent. Guys, that is going to be an example of the y-intercept. So here you would type in, and I'm going to make myself pink because pink's my almost favorite color. It's actually blue. So the y-intercept in this particular problem is going to be $6.25, or how much the popcorn was worth. And now let's find the slope real quick. So again, to find the slope, you pick 2 points on this table, you put it in the slope formula, and you solve. So the first point I'm going to choose is 0 and $6.25. And the second point I'm going to choose is 1 and 10. Okay, let's go ahead and do this, guys. All right, so here are my points, and here is the slope formula, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Remember, when you have an ordered pair, your first number is always an x, your second number is always a y. So 0 is an x, $6.25 is a y, 1 is an x, and 10 is a y. So cool, I did that. Now the second thing, this is literally the first ordered pair I see, so this is going to be x1 and y1. This is literally the second ordered pair I see, so this will be x2 and y2. And once I have that labeled, I can put it in the slope formula and solve. So what I need first is y2. y2 is 10. And I'm going to subtract that by y1, which is $6.25. And then I need x2, which is 1, and I'm going to subtract that by 0. All right, let's solve. So I'm going to make this a bit prettier. It was 10 minus 6 and 25, and then 1 minus 0. I still made that ugly. All right, so then we subtract 10 minus 625 is going to give us 375. And then 1 minus 0, of course, is going to give us 1. So that is our rate of change, guys. That is our slope. 1 drink equals $3.75. Every time you order a drink, it's going to be worth that amount of money, $3.75. So if we go back to here, we know what the slope is. Per drink that you order, it is going to equal $3.75. So cool, we found the slope. Now that we find the slope and the y-intercept, we can put it into our equation. And if you remember, guys, our equation is y equals mx plus b, where m is our slope, so we will substitute slope in where m is, and b is our y-intercept, so we would substitute our y-intercept where b is. So let's write our equation. And I'm going to, again, make this pink. Y equals, because we always have to put y equals, m is our slope, so I'll go ahead and type that in, 3.75. We always put that x in there. The x is always attached to the hip to the slope, so I'll plug that in. And then we're going to add our y-intercept, which is $6.25. So guys, there's our equation. We found our slope, we found our y-intercept, and we plugged it into our slope-intercept form, no problem at all. Now we need to figure out, well, what does the slope represent in this situation? Well, if we look back at our, table, we could tell that our slope in this situation was 375. So what the slope was how much money each drink costs. Each drink costs $3.75. So that is our slope in the situation. How much our drink costs. All right. So that's going to be our slope in the situation. And the last question here says, what does the y-intercept represent? Well, we already talked about this. Our y-intercept is how much money they already put down on the table, how much they've already spent. In this particular case, they already spent $6.25, and they spend that money on the popcorn. The amount the popcorn was worth. So there you go, guys. We answered all of the questions. We found the slope, found the y-intercept. We were able to make an equation, and then we were able to find, what does the slope represent here, and then what does the y-intercept represent. So guys, if y'all have any questions, make sure that y'all ask me. Send me a private message or something, and we will figure it out. And here's my last example. Bethany has a bakery, and she is using a chocolate chip recipe that calls for a certain ratio of brown sugar to butter, as shown in the graph. So we need to find the slope first. For a graph like this, what we have to do is we can use the rise over run to find our slope. I've already picked the 2 points for you, and I've already made our little right triangle right here. Our rise is going to be our numerator. How much we run is our denominator. In this particular case, we rose 1, 2, 3 times, so our numerator is 3. And then from here to here, we ran 1, 2, 3, 4 times. So our slope is going to be 3/4 cups. So then it asks, what is the y-intercept of this particular table? Well, again, the y-intercept here is where the red line crosses the y-axis. Here's our y-axis, and it crosses here down here at 0. So that is going to be our y-intercept. Now that we have our y-intercept and our slope, we can put it into our fabulous equation, y equals mx plus b. So again, we're going to put y equals. M always represents our slope. We found our slope to be 3/4. It's attached to that x, and then we have plus 0 as our y-intercept. But again, guys, if y'all had me in class especially, I talked about how you don't have to put plus 0 on anything. It doesn't add, it doesn't take away anything, so we can go ahead and get rid of that. And there you go. Here's our equation. We found the slope, we found the y-intercept, we were able to put it in. So Here we need to talk about, well, what does the slope represent in this situation? Well, we're talking, I don't want to highlight anything. No. There we go. We're talking about Bethany's Bakery, and the slope here is how many cups of brown sugar to butter. So in this particular case, we need 3 cups of brown sugar for every 4 cups of butter. So that's what the slope represents. 3 cups of brown sugar to the 4 cups of butter. So how many chocolate chip cookie, her chocolate chip cookie recipe calls for 3 cups of brown sugar to 4 cups of butter, and how many batches of cookies she makes will depend on her slope there. So then it asks, what does the y-intercept represent in this particular problem? And the y-intercept here, again, guys, is 0. So what it represents in this particular problem is that she's not going to use any cups of brown sugar or any cups of butter if she's not making any cookies. That's basically is what it's saying. Like, her y-intercept here is 0, and it's because, she doesn't have to use butter or brown sugar if she doesn't make any cookies. So no brown sugar or butter used if no cookies are being used. And there you go, guys. So that's all for me. If y'all have any questions when it comes to y'all doing y'all's worksheet, make sure that y'all ask me. I'll see y'all later, and I hope y'all had a wonderful Super Bowl weekend. See you guys. Bye.